we are so involved in trying to see where we are with our situations that is a major part of seeing the fall, seeing the time go by, seeing this day and this week, how they go by. And by the way, fault, I have in my life played option quarterback so many times and wait until the last leaf on the tree. And if you want to picture an option, pure option quarterback going out to the sideline, I have run that ball and kept it and not hand it off to the back, not pitch it back, not throw it. And I have run that thing all the way out to the sideline before I made the decision. Because I couldn't get whatever it took it wasn't right for me to make the decision. And so what our fans, what you're seeing, what we deal with is we're buying time. We're option quarterback, and then we're going on out towards the sideline, and we haven't handed it off. We haven't pitched it. We're trying to make our mind up what to do. Does that sound like Mahomes to you? A little bit? Okay. It do. It really do.
And a good afternoon to all of you. Ryan in Sacktown with you. It's the King's Court. Yeah, playing a little hurt. That's all right. You know, I rarely do this. I'm going coffee today on the show. And a shout out to the Kings sending me some really nice coasters. I'm not going to show you the last name, but they had them engraved. Thank you very much, Sacramento. Love it, love it, love it. That's Jerry Jones at the top of the show, comparing himself to Patrick Mahomes. What he was trying to do at the opening of training camp for the Cowboys was talking about all of the decisions that need to be made, whether it's Micah Parsons, CeeDee Lamb, Dak Prescott playing under a 1-year contract this year, about $55 million. Jerry, you got to do something different, my man. And by different, I mean, give it up. Give the franchise power up to somebody else. This Dallas team has gone 12-5 the last 3 seasons, yet the last 4 times they've been in the playoffs, they are 1-4. So don't you see that Prescott's probably not the answer to your problems? It's time to shake things up. But Jerry, man, it's always got to be about Jarrett, and he never ceases to amaze me with giving us a quote, calling himself an option quarterback. What, Jarrett? You wait till the last second? Man, John Finch calling you. How about them Cowboys? Man, what's it going to be for Dallas this year? Is it going to be a similar type of year that we've seen the last 3 where they have a regular season and then it all craps out come the postseason? Could they actually make some noise? Last year, you remember, they looked like one of the best teams in the NFL until they ran into the San Francisco 49ers. So it is what it is with Dallas. Interesting situation. But again, happy to have you here on the King's Court. Ryan in Sacktown with you. Don't forget, we will be back at 8 o'clock tonight. Grant and I bringing it home. We'll do another open forum show. We had a nice discussion last night about the evolution of radio, the evolution of content creating. And he brought up Tom Brenneman. Grant brought him up, and him getting a second chance now to call games after something that he said on the air, did not know he had a hot mic, and made a homophobic slur. There's an article that I want to kind of talk about on him and him getting a second chance, but more, I want to talk about what this business is kind of turning into. And the ability for anybody, we talk about it, put a microphone in front of you, crack it open. But what do you got to do to be in it for the long run? How do you be successful in this? And there's a reason you're seeing the big players, Pat McAfee, Jim Rome, just to mention a couple of them that have gone digital. Really, the backside, which is terrestrial radio, is the afterthought when it comes to them now. You might be able to find them here and there. Jib's still on the radio, but the focus is on the stream. That's where you're getting the majority of your viewers. So, anyways, Bane, my man, right off the top, asking about Orlando Robinson. Yeah, let's talk about Orlando for a second. Let me bring him up for y'all. If you the Kings signed him to a 1-year contract yesterday. I'm actually excited to see what this young man can do. He in the G League, by the way, he's played a little bit sparingly for the Heat. His NBA career, not much to write home about per se. That being said, he's had, let's see if I can pull that up for you. There we go. He's played 36 games, averaged 8.4 minutes per game, 2.8 points. I'm not looking at what he's done in the NBA. What I am actually looking at is what he's done in the G Leagues. That's where he's got the majority of his run. For Sioux Falls last year, he was an amazing player and really athletic, by the way. 6'10". He's got some length to him. Young, by the way, so really good thing there. Drafted in 2022. He's a Vegas kid, but getting back to the particulars, in the G League, he averaged just a bit over 24 points a game and averaged 11 plus rebounds a game. Now, where I was really, really happy to see these numbers was the offensive rebounding, 5.1 per game. Now, I get that's the G League. I understand different level of competition, but he fits the mold of what the Kings are trying to do in terms of his age, in terms of where he's at in his career. It's a very low risk move for things, and I like it. He is a little bit different than Alex Len, who currently is your backup center. Now, you can make an argument that Trey Lyles is actually going to be the backup center because the Kings are going to go small more than any, or go small more times than not. But the Kings still need to be able to defend the Dallases. They've got to be able to defend the Minnesotas. And the Kings actually had a lot, and I mean a lot of success last year against some of those better teams that you saw playing late into the playoffs. I put it out at the time when Dallas made the Western Conference Finals. I said anyone but Dallas. And I knew that was going to be a thorn in Vivek's side because the Kings, up until the All-Star break, had been a better team than Dallas. They were ahead of Dallas in the standings. And then what happens at the trade deadline? Dallas makes a couple of residual, I'm going to call them residual moves. I know one of them with PJ Washington cost them a first-round pick, but you change things up a little bit. You make small moves on the outside that end up bringing or pulling the chemistry of the team together. And what happens? They make the Western Conference Finals, and they roll Sacramento twice in their own building, which really was the end of the Kings' playoff push. That's when you knew it was probably going to be playing. So, again, I'm not going to get in the weeds with Monte McNair. I think he's done an excellent job on the whole here in Sacramento. He's stuck to his guns. He is stuck to his principles in running a front office. But if you do want to point to one place where things could have been a little bit better, it's definitely the last two trade deadlines. So getting back to Orlando. Orlando went to Fresno State. He's from Cal to a degree. Fresno, if you pay attention to the Jim Rome show, Fresno and I, we don't always get along, but Orlando, it's all right, dude. Fresno's all right with me today now that you are a Sacramento King. But it'll be interesting to see what he does when he is in training camp. That's where the proving ground's going to be. But again, going back to defending your Dallases, defending your Timberwolves, that's where he actually might come into play. And he can run the floor pretty damn good. So, by the way, we didn't mention this. He was a Miami guy. Miami does a pretty damn good job of drafting character guys that they think are going to fit their system. You could go the other way and say, well, Rhino, they're not bringing him back. What's that mean? Just means that there's too much depth at that position. At one time, the Heat wanted him. So that's something that you got to actually like if Pat Riley liked him as well. So again, low risk move for the Kings. The G League numbers, very, very good for Sioux Falls. Again, I'm going to go back to that 11 rebounds a game. 11 rebounds a game. And yeah, the G League a little bit smaller than the NBA. Guys still cutting their teeth, getting shined up and ready for their NBA runs. But I do like the way that he fits the timeline for this Kings team. What do you guys think about Orlando? Give me your thoughts. Bane hopping in saying shot 53% from three last year. Good point, Bane. He did shoot 53%. What were the attempts, though, Bane? I meant to bring that up. 3-point attempts, only 3 a game last year. So actually not terrible, Bane. I can get down with that. 3 attempts. That's the thing that the Kings need to do. They got to be able to stretch that floor a little bit for Domantas. Now, passing, that's going to be a different story. He's not one of those prototypical passing men, but I still think that he can move it around the horn. He averaged 2 assists a game for a big man last year. Not terrible at all. And you got to remember, too, with the G League, a lot of times you have rotating lineups. You got guys going back and forth between the NBA and the G League. Bane, do you think he'll compete with Alex Len for the backup spot? Good question. Good question. Probably not. I think Mike Brown will use him in spots where I think a Dallas would be a great example. I think that Orlando, if he can prove to play and actually mesh well with the core of this team, I think that those are the matchups that you will see him. Mike Brown is known to change the lineups up, move the rotation around for the matchups. Now, arguably, last year, Coach Brown was not consistent with the rotation, regardless of the matchups. And I think that is one of those things that needs to be shored up a little bit more this season. But I don't know. I think it's going to be spot duty. I think you're going to see Trey Lyles more than anybody getting that time. And then what's Mike going to do in terms of the front line outside of the center position for the second unit? You know, Trey Lyles is going to be on there, but who else is going to be there with him? That's my question. Is it going to be Kevin Huerter? Is it going to be Cam Johnson, a name that keeps coming up here in Sacramento? Remember, Cam came up during the draft as a possible option for your Kings. Monty McNair showing some interest in him. And the rumors are still around. Look, the Nets are looking to dump salary. It makes complete sense. Dorian Finney-Smith, Ben Simmons, obviously Cam Johnson. So what would it take to get a guy like Cam Johnson on the Kings? Well, first, you're going to have to compete with Orlando. You're going to have to compete also with the Lakers. Also, both of those teams possibly interested for his services. Now, here's what I do like about Cam on the back end. You get him for 3 years. Let's say he comes in tomorrow. You've got him all the way through the 26-27 season, which by all means, when you look at DeMar DeRozan's contract, when you look at De'Aaron Fox, who's going to have to re-sign or the Kings are going to have to go a different way, I think the Kings are doing everything right to line it up on their side. Remember, De'Aaron said part of the reason he was not re-signing in Sacramento, or at least taking the extension this offseason, was because he wanted to see how the roster was going to develop. And I think Monty has done a pretty damn good job. Now, the Devin Carter thing, it's a little bit difficult. I mean, think about how much more pumped up this fan base would be if you were rolling into this season with DeMar, Devin Carter, and you've got a new deck of cards to play with. But that being said, again, Fitz timeline, he makes $23 million this year, $21 million the year after that, or 21.5, and then 26-27, he's making 23.6. So I guess the question becomes, and I'll bounce it back to you guys, do you think Cam Johnson is a $23 million player a year? Is that a number that you are willing to give up? And are you willing to part ways with Kevin Huerter? I know the answer is yes for most of you. I get it, but I think the Kings are pretty confident that you could see a different Kevin Huerter this year, especially because you will have more guys for the Kings that can create shots for guys like Kevin Huerter, guys like Keegan Murray. We've had the discussion before with Keegan Murray bringing in DeMar DeRozan. Does that actually hurt Keegan's development, or does it help it? Well, it depends on whether or not you see the glass half full or the glass half empty, because Keegan's rookie year, he was a sniper from beyond the arc. And sure, one of the knocks on him was he just spots up. Well, who cares if the guy's spotting up and knocking him down? It's 3 points either way you cut it, whether you create the shot or not. But having a guy like DeMar DeRozan now on the roster, yeah, it's probably going to take away from Keegan's ability to make plays, but that doesn't take away from his ability to finish plays, meaning he's going to probably find more spot up opportunities in his comfort zone, and he can continue to do what he does best. Because by all means, there were times last season, and I think Keegan did an excellent job last season. I think the problem, and I'm going to put it on Coach Brown more than anybody, was there was a lack of structure offensively. There's playing free and having a free-flowing offense, and then there's just rolling the ball out there and saying, get a shot, guys. And it felt like the latter. It felt like it was on the team to decide what they were going to do offensively. And part of the problem, too, I felt like the basketball IQ for this team last year regressed a little bit. And I know that's a strong statement because you've got the same core coming back, but the Kings had trouble identifying sometimes mismatches. They had trouble identifying zone defenses until late in the shot clock. They'd be running their man offense against it. And so that's where I think Coach Brown steps in. It becomes more structured again. He was on the record towards the end of the season last year saying he barely called any plays for the offense last season. And quite frankly, when he was calling plays, you could tell the difference in the team. They came out, they were getting guys shots that sometimes would not get shots at all for a half, like Harrison Barnes, Keegan Murray, for instance. So the structure, in fact, was definitely the playing game against Golden State. They came out firing, got Keegan involved right away. So what I'm saying is there's a lot to look forward to, and put Kevin Huerter in that same group, a guy that thrives off of being set up, not a guy that usually makes his own play. So anyways, a lot to think about. Cam Johnson, the rumors continue flying here in Sacktown. Adam, what's up, my man? Welcome in today. Make sure that you give us a thumbs up. Make sure that you give us a like if you are watching on YouTube or the X. I'm looking at the X numbers, 114 have already checked in. Give us a retweet. Give us a follow. By the way, we are just a couple followers away from 1,000. When we get to 1,000, we're going to be making some announcements on the channel, including a possible get-together, which could be a lot of fun. And then also that will trigger our giveaway for the signed Malik Monk jersey. Still taking ideas on how we should do that, because I want to make it fair. I want everybody to have a chance. I might actually need to bring in a producer that day. I think I might need a producer for the day that we give away the Monk jersey, because I want everyone, every single person here to have a fair shot at winning it. Dave, what's up, my man? Thanks for checking in today on the Kings Court. Will Kevin Huerter be a starter, or will he come off the bench? I think he's going to come off the bench. And the reason I say that is I thought he played really well off the bench last year when Mike Brown was bringing him off prior to the injury. I thought that, well, I guess it was earlier in the season, but I thought Kevin played a little more freely. I thought that, there is a difference between playing ones versus ones and twos versus ones, and vice versa, or twos versus twos. And Kevin, I think there's not as much pressure on him. It seems like when he's in that starting unit, there's pressure to get going, yet there's limited opportunities to get going because there's not enough shots on the floor. Because arguably Domas last year was underused. You could even argue, too, that De'Aaron Fox, look, he would take over games many times, especially the playoff year, 22-23. But then last year, more attention focused in on De'Aaron. He didn't come out of the gates as quickly in a lot of games. And you ask the classic question, well, if he can do it in the fourth quarter and he's the inaugural clutch player of the year in the NBA, why can't he do it in the first quarter? Well, he can. It's just you got to get some of the guys, the way that starting lineup was set up, involved, because Kevin's not a guy that's going to involve himself. Now, the second unit frees him up a little bit more, but a long-winded way of saying, Dave, I think he's coming off the bench if he is on this roster. It just feels like Keon Ellis, the type of guard that Keon is a perfect fit for what the Kings need in the starting lineup, because you have so much firepower at the 1. You have so much firepower now at the 3, and I'm going to call tomorrow 3. And then Domas, undoubtedly what he can do, spreading the ball around and then also scoring, usually needs to be set up, but that's where his game needs to take the next step. So when you bring in a guy like Keon Ellis to the starting lineup, not only is the defense much better and it frees De'Aaron Fox up to do a little bit more of that free safety role, he can get a little bit looser, look for opportunities to jump in passing lanes, but it also does not make you beholden to getting Keon Ellis involved in the offense. Keon knows his role with this team. It's if you're open, shoot the ball and knock it down. If you're not, no big deal. He's not looking. You don't have to run plays for him. His offensive game does not affect what he does on the other side of the court. Same thing, exact same thing could be said about Keegan Murray, who, in my opinion, definitely is the leader of that defense. Jen, what's up? Having more respect for the mid-range threat could open things up on the wing a bit. Absolutely, Jen. Spot on. Kings are a legitimate 3-level threat offensively in the half court. And notice why I said half court. When you get to the playoffs, that's what the game becomes many times, a half court game. Now that you have DeMar DeRozan, I think the Kings are going to have a preference of wanting to play in the half court because of what Jen just said. You have to guard the entire floor. Last year, you didn't always have to do that with the Kings. And in fact, I would argue the opposite. One of the Achilles heels for the Kings last season was the half court offense. Many times you would see 1 in, 4 out, the ball just swung around. And then all of a sudden there's 8 seconds left on the shot clock. And you got a guy like Chris Duarte, who is not a good 3-point shooter, who played sparingly, putting up 3 or 4 triples in his 5 minutes of play, which was exactly the opposite of what you wanted if you were Mike Brown. But yes, absolutely, the mid-range game opens up things. And what will open up things even more is Domantas Sabonis. If he can just confidently, all he has to do is step into it confidently, a 3-pointer, a mid-range jumper, no hesitation, that will further open up the mid-range, in my opinion. And that opens Pandora's box for the guys that you have on this roster, because you do have some sharpshooters. You've got a guy like De'Aaron Fox, who I still say to this day is the fastest player I've ever seen with a basketball in person. And then the other thing with Domas, this whole notion of hanging off of him, it's getting a little bit old. It has to be the season where Domas, and we've seen he can shoot the 3 effectively. However, he doesn't shoot it a lot, and he doesn't need to. I'm not sitting here saying Domas needs to take 5, 6, 7 threes a game. Absolutely not, because then you might run into the same problem you had last year, where the Kings were not getting to the free throw line, down 16% in free throw attempts, down over 21% in made free throws from the year before, which is massive. And Domas is one of the guys that was responsible for the Kings getting to the line a lot last year. So you don't want him shooting too many. You just need him to have the ability to step into one confidently and be able to hit it. And that also goes for his mid-range, Jay, as well. Adam hopping back in. Man, if I had an X, it would be the KC one step closer to 1K. Yeah, dude, we're getting there. We're getting there, man. I guess I probably had some fake accounts following me because they always, like, every day you kind of add one and then one drops or whatever. But we will get there in due time. Remember, this is the off season. It's not exactly the easiest time to be doing content. There's not a lot going on in the news, so we try to keep it fresh for you. And it is fun coming to you 5 days a week live And then certainly once the season starts, it is full speed ahead. We will be doing our pregame, halftime, postgame shows. You'll be getting your morning shoot arounds every single morning on the Kings Court, where we break down usually the postgame audio. We talk about the night before, talk about the new stuff going on with the team. And then we've got football season too. We have football season, which usually means Sean Salisbury. I'm pretty sure, not 100% sure, but pretty sure Sean will be joining us again on Mondays. I will check with Grant on that one. By the way, make sure, again, you join us back tonight at 8 o'clock. Grant and I will be doing another open forum show. Those are a lot of fun. Gammon changed the game up a little bit on us. In fact, Gammon, I highly doubt that you know this, Gammon, and Gammon, I'm not sure if you're even listening right now, but one of the things where Grant and I started developing our chemistry was because of things just like you did the other night on Open Forum, where you're like, you know what, let's go a different direction. Here's what we're going to do. I'm going to give you 3 questions, right? And you gotta give us the first answer that comes to mind. I used to do stuff like that with Grant all the time on Wednesdays. Used to be the one day a week open forum Wednesday. I know why I say it kind of weird. Open forum Wednesday. But yeah, it brought out a different side of Grant, different personality, especially when you do the one worders and you say, hey, I'm going to say this. Give me one word on how you feel about it. And those always were very riveting, very evoking, audience evoking, where they're coming in and commenting and then building on it. So good job by you, Gammon, the other night by doing that. And that's what open forums are for. You can bring up anything within reason. This is not a political channel. This is not, you know what kind of channel it is. It's a sports channel, but we can talk about anything in that realm that you would like to talk about. So make sure you come back with us later tonight at 8 o'clock. Let's get back to the chat really quick. Jen hopping back in. Thoughts on possibly bringing back Drew Timme for forward depth? I think Drew's going to be I think he'll be with Stockton this season, assuming that another team doesn't pick him up. That's the one thing. He's going to have to, I don't know what his contract looks like, to be quite honest with you, because it's not a guaranteed contract. He'll probably be in training camp. I don't think there's a roster spot for him, but I do think Stockton is a very good place for him to be at. And now that Lindsey Harding is headed to Los Angeles to be a part of JJ Redick's coaching staff, it'll be very cool to see what the next move is going to be for them. I know my man, acting GM Gabriel Harris, definitely all over that. And Lindsey, by the way, G League Coach of the Year last year, Lindsey Harding. Her specialty in her 4+ years with the Kings was player development. I mean, if you don't know about Lindsey, she was a amazing women's college player at Duke. In fact, her jersey, her number 10, hangs in the rafters at Cameron Indoor Stadium. Pretty damn cool. That is amazing. Also, the first pick in the WNBA draft. Now, that being said, I still think that she was not the entire development program that went down or is going on between Stockton and Sacramento. So I am interested to see who that next person is going to be. You could also, not a chance, Bane. I don't think so. I don't see it. But look, we haven't seen him play. So Monty likes him. Mike Brown obviously likes him. So who knows? You'll probably see in the preseason some different combinations. Obviously, they'll do the black and the silver when it comes to training camp with the units that play against each other. So that'll give you a better idea of what Mike Brown's thinking. But who knows? Look, injuries, you got to think that they're going to be part of the formula again. Unfortunately, it's unrealistic to think the Kings will be as healthy as they were in 22-23. But I do feel, I think I feel better. And I guess I'll pose this question to all of you. Do you feel better about the depth so far this season than you do going into last season? Because the Kings last season, we're getting a lot of pats on the back for bringing Harrison back, getting Duarte, bringing Sasha over. That whole Sasha thing, by the way, what a bizarre thing. I guess it's just the NBA is not for everybody. It shows you that money is not everything. It'll be interesting to see how that plays out as time goes along and if anybody gets an interview with him. But I think the depth this year much better than what the Kings did last year. What's up, Derek? How you doing today, my man? Mullets are back in style. I love 2024, dude. It's also the year of the rat. Did you hear about this? That women are looking for men that look like rats. And then there's guys that are having plastic surgery to look more like a rat. I think a mullet actually goes hand in hand with the mullet, or a mullet goes hand in hand with the rat thing, I should say. You know what else is actually kind of funny? Check this out. We're going to go here really quick before we get to anything else. This is going to bug some people. It has been reported today that Southwest Airlines is no longer going to be doing open seating. How do you feel about that? I'll give you my take on in a second. Here's what I do know. If you guys don't know that commercial that's below me right now, you should. That is literally one of the funniest commercials, in my opinion, of all time. The Southwest Airlines commercial. They did a whole ad campaign around its football season. And this dude drops his keys, and the lady walks up behind him, and she just starts, blue, 32, green, Omaha, Omaha. Funniest thing ever. But anyways, getting back to the story, Southwest no longer doing open seating. They're going to assigned seating. And I don't have a problem with it. You know why? I can't stand the rat race that goes on, because as it was before with Southwest Airlines, you would get a boarding group and then you would get a number, right? So, for instance, A27, A27. Well, you get in the A group, but then you got people coming up to you. Oh, are you 23 or what number? Oh, I'm 20. And you're lining up, and it was just a pain in the butt. On top of that, you have people that are always trying to get into the line early. It's, speaking of rats, it was a rat race. And if you've never been a part of a drug deal, which I have not, and I hope none of you have either, it's probably the next closest thing where you have people being like, hey, I'll pay you $5 if you save me a seat. Like, can you save me a seat next to you? $5, $7 and a cocktail on the plane. There's all this haggling and negotiating going on. And so, anyway, Southwest getting in line with everybody else that does it already. They're going to do assigned seating, which I think is so much better because it takes that entire element that I just talked about out of it. You already have your seat number. And if you are somebody that lines up early for an assigned seat, you might want to rethink a few things, because you don't have to line up. When it's your turn, you just get on, or you can wait till the end and get on. And I guess people too, here's the other thing. They were getting frustrated because if anybody here has flied with Southwest lately, you can upgrade your ticket or you can upgrade your boarding number. So anyways, Southwest, they are now going to be adding some more red-eye flights, and hopefully with the money that will possibly, I'm guessing more money will be made because of this. Why would they make a move that doesn't make more money? They can bring back commercials like that, because those Southwest commercials are second to like the Terry Tate office linebacker commercials. They are so freaking funny. Yeah, right, Adam? Don't sit next to me. Yeah, how many people have had that weirdo sit next to them on an airplane? Like they're intentionally trying so hard to start a conversation. And I have no problem with people being friendly. But my wife actually, she was going and she was pregnant at the time. She was going to Vegas to go see the Michael Jackson Cirque du Soleil show. And this guy just would not stop hitting on her. And the entire flight, he was trying to, I guess like what month she was with her pregnancy. And like, yeah, it takes all that away. Now you can, if you're flying with somebody, you are guaranteed to have them sitting next to you. But yeah, Southwest, you can now also upgrade your ticket for more leg room, some of the other amenities that the other airlines have. But yes, Southwest Airlines doing away with the open seating and the open boarding. I'm going to put up my man Cam Johnson because there's been a lot of talk about him and the Kings. Mark hopping in. People saving seats on Southwest sucks also. And I like Southwest. That's what I was saying. It's like a drug deal, man. You got people that don't know each other, and they're like, "Hey, can you save a seat? Like, I'll pay you $7, and I'll give you I don't know, give you a drink ticket, or it's so weird. I'm glad that they are doing assigned seating. Definitely. Jen hopping back in. Trains. Let's see, that broke there. Trains for the win, if possible, for a time. Jen, I don't mind a good train ride. Those can be really fun. I used to do one all the time between San Diego and Santa Barbara. What a beautiful, beautiful trip. Now, Amtrak sometimes can be good, sometimes can be bad, depending on who's riding with you. But going up and down the coast, that's beautiful. And in fact, that's how a lot of the world gets around, by the way. It's just what Jen's saying, the trains. In fact, the men's basketball team, they are not actually playing basketball in Paris. They're playing about 80 minutes away via high-speed trains. So that is turned into this entire thing, which it is every Olympic year, because Team USA will not be staying in the Olympic Village for obvious reasons. I get it. They're a little bit more of a high profile, or a bigger target, I would say, especially if you're worried about security. And I don't mean physically. They're more known. It's LeBron James, it's Steph Curry. They're recognizable worldwide. And here's the other thing. Did you hear that they have cardboard beds again for the athletes? Take a guess at why they have cardboard beds for the athletes. The reason might surprise you, but Team USA will not be staying with the rest of the Olympians. And I thought Steph Curry put it really well. He feels like, and this is his first Olympic experience, but being around the other Olympians was one of the things he said that he was really looking forward to, just being another member of the Olympic team, which is a really cool train of thought. So I guess they'll get it both ways. But again, you're gonna be 40, or you're about 80 minutes away via high-speed train to get to where they're practicing. Sam Amick was talking about that earlier today. Oh boy. It's time for the train to come off the tracks. Haunted Horse is in the house. I would never fly Southwest because I want assigned seats. I might fly them now that they are changing it. See, you're with me. I feel like I am in the minority, but everybody here in the King's Court is with me about you like having assigned seats. It just makes more freaking sense. And by the way, when you have assigned seats, here's the other thing that happens. It gives you a better opportunity of getting cool upgrades. Did you know that? So if you don't know, I come from a family of pilots. So I am the only male in my family that does not know how to fly a plane. But the reason that I'm saying this is because a lot of my dad's friends, they fly for the airlines. My dad did not fly for airlines. He flew privately. But anyways, we were in Maui one time because what happened is they will upgrade you. Speaking of the airlines, Southwest doesn't have first class, but other airlines do. If there's people that are waiting to get on that flight, they're on standby, they have multiple people, and let's say there's two of you and you're in a row where there's an open seat, they can charge the people on standby way more to get that last second ticket, and they would much rather move you to the two open seats in first class and sell that entire back row if there's three of them on standby. So it opens up all these different opportunities to maybe get the seat with extra leg room, to maybe get in first class once in a while. Ryan is wearing a horse shirt today. True. I am wearing a Boise State shirt. Actually, it's a Bronco shirt, my man. Come on. It is a Bronco shirt. Let's see. I saw a question about Drew Timme. I didn't want to let that go. We already went over the trains. Let's see. I want to get to everything you guys are putting in the chat. Please don't sit down. Yeah, that's exactly right, Adam. We already hit that one. Southwest is the Walmart of the skies. Well, they've been in business over... This is the first change for them of this magnitude in 53, I believe it's 53 years. Are they the Walmart of the skies? I don't know if they are. Southwest doesn't feel like Walmart to me. I mean, yeah, you get your free bag. No, you know what? Southwest is not the Walmart of the skies. It's actually, help me out, y'all. What is the airline that flies out of Stockton, goes to Vegas? Spirit came to mind. Is it Spirit Airlines? That is the Walmart of, their flights are crazy, by the way. Some of the hours and the layovers. Yeah. So is it Spirit? I forget what it is. Somebody pick me up here on that one. Yeah, don't get Ryan started on first class flying. He's a damn snob. I am not a snob, bro. Really? We're going to go there, Haunted Horse? We're going to go there, brother. No, if you book, all I'm saying, Haunted Horse, okay, Horse and I, by the way, have had this discussion many times. If Spirit, yes, thank you for picking me up. Spirit is gross. They are the Walmart for sure. 100%. Yes, yeet. They are the Walmart of the airlines. But no, Haunted Horse, my point is, brother, if you book your flight well in advance, you can get some really good deals to where you're paying like $20 more for first class. So why wouldn't you do that? That's not snobby. Come on, man. Then you get the free drinks, you get extra leg room, get all that good stuff, my man. Yeah, maybe it is Frontier. It's Spirit or Frontier? Frontier is the one that flies out of Stockton. I've heard some horror stories about that airline. So, yeah, what is everybody's favorite airline? Actually, now that we're on the topic of airlines, I am partial. I'll throw mine out there. I love Alaska Airlines. I think they do a great job. Jen, we have a story about this. ESPN eyeing Charles Barkley inside the NBA crew. Charles has already made it really clear that he intends to retire after this season, regardless of whether the NBA does end up going with TNT. What a mess, by the way, with this entire situation. I can't wait for more details to come out about this. There's got to be more to it because the NBA really, even though it's the same offer, they greatly preferred Amazon's offer for the secondary package of NBA coverage in the new media rights deal. And TNT, by the way, Warner Brothers Discovery had the opportunity to match. There was a clause in the last agreement that gave them a period time to match. Well, they're claiming that they matched the offer, but yet the NBA is moving forward with Amazon's offer. And it's funny because Adam Silver talked about this multiple times this season. He said that we are going to be changing the way or looking at changing the ways that you basically take in the NBA. Things are going to be, he didn't say drastically different, but things are to be different. We're going to update it. And you've got to think with Amazon now, you got to think with Peacock. Now, Peacock's going to have over 100 games on Peacock, which means if you don't subscribe to Peacock, you're missing out on 100 NBA games that you would have normally gotten on ESPN or you would have gotten on TNT, etc. Amazon, I get a lot of people have Amazon Prime, but to your point, Jen, the entire thing about Charles inside the NBA, you can't replicate that show. In fact, David Aldridge had a really good article that he wrote in The Athletic about the quote unquote magic of that show and just how special it has been. There's going to be a really, I would guess, and I don't know how this is going to work because I've not seen the contract. Obviously, that is privilege that's between the parties, but there's probably going to be some type of lawsuit for breach of contract that my guess is Warner Brothers Discovery will be bringing to the NBA. Now, how is that going to hold things up? Does that hold things up? You know, a lot of times in these contracts, and this is where it gets a little bit convoluted, or people think, well, you can just go ahead and sue and it'll go to court. You can get a trial. Well, first off, it doesn't exactly work like that. But a lot of times in these contracts that companies enter into, they basically have what's called a mediation clause, which you basically waive the right to come after the other party without first trying to use a court-appointed mediator or any type of third party, whether it's an attorney, judge, to mediate an agreement between the two about the disagreement. Now, would that contract have something like that in it? Possibly. If it doesn't, it's going to be probably a very expensive, a very public, and a very ugly lawsuit between the NBA and Warner Brothers Discovery, because this is a lot of money we're talking about. And yes, you're talking about Inside the NBA, which to me is the best studio show in the history of my lifetime. I don't think there is a better sports studio show than those four guys. And in fact, I am an old school dude where when they put Draymond in with the guys, I don't like it. I love Vince Carter. I don't love him on Inside the NBA. Give me Shaq, give me Charles, give me Kenny, give me EJ, and we are good to go. They make magic together. So Charles would not be a part of it. And, you know, Charles, it was really kind of embarrassing. In fact, let me see if I can pull this up. I might be able to. Charles was at one of the Stanley Cup playoff games this year, and he joined the panel for one of the intermission reports. And the ESPN guys, because it was an ESPN game, they were going after Charles as much as they were talking about that period of hockey, which was totally ridiculous. Charles is like ducking it left and right. They're like, well, Charles, you know, you can come with us, blah, 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 gooba, gooba, goo. And he just wasn't having it. He wanted to talk hockey. He didn't want to be, you know, basically poached. He didn't want to be, you know, it was gross to me. They were just splurging all over the guy. We're getting some favorite airlines in here. Allegiant, they're always canceling flights. Horses with me, Alaska. Adam, it's because Americans out of Dallas, bro. Huh? It's because Americans out of Dallas. By the way, Adam, you guys have some wild weather in Dallas. Every time I have passed through Dallas, there has been some type of significant delay because of weather. In fact, one time we had to spend the night in the airport. That was kind of weird. Let's see. NBA and every league less worried about what the fans want, making the product better, just making more money. Grant hit the nail on the head. Sorry, y'all, because I am dealing with a little something. I am going to be taking a couple sips in there. I know my buddy Damon Bruce, he has the sip of the day that he does with his coffee. I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to have a quick sip. There we go. Anyways, yeah, it is about making money. That's what the ownership is all about. You got to get the players tied into that as well. It benefits them as well. But also, I think what it is, this is just my gut feeling. This is nothing more than a reckless assumption. I think the NBA knows that the younger audience is less likely to have cable television and more likely to have an Amazon subscription, more likely to sign up for Amazon Prime rather than go and get DirecTV just to be able to get TNT games or Comcast or whatever your carrier is. And on top of that, I see somebody talking about NBA League Pass. That is already a digital platform. You do not have to have a cable provider to get League Pass. So I think the NBA, if they're looking at the way things are trending these days, and by trending, I mean moving significantly. You've already seen the shift in radio, how most things are going digital now. Almost everyone that is on terrestrial radio now does a simulcast, whether it's on YouTube, whether it's on X, whether it's on Twitch, whatever platform they prefer, mostly YouTube. It is now a simulcast. It is a visual medium as well as a listening medium. Now, there's always going to be a small market for radio because cars likely always have radios in them. And if all things break down, the internet, everything else, what did they tell you to have? Have an emergency radio. So there will be a little bit of a market there, but not like radio used to be. It's moving. And so the same could be said, obviously, for the way that games are taken in. I mean, look at podcasting now, by the way. If you don't know this, podcasting is where the majority of this country gets their news now. Overwhelming, the majority of the country gets their news from podcasts. Also, we take things in 15-second increments. You don't have to watch a 2.5-hour game to know what happened with the advent of social media, with different platforms like TikTok, Instagram, whatever it may be, X, right? And so for the younger audience, again, it makes all the sense in the world. So, and what does it do to the older audience? I don't really know. Grant thinks it doesn't affect things. I think it does. If you're going to ask people that are 70, 75, 80, that might not be tech savvy, that might not have computers, you think they're going to find Amazon Prime? I don't know. Maybe different. And think about all the scams that are out there these days. I know because of what I did before getting into this space that the majority of these scams are targeted at the elderly. And a lot of times, even though it is something that is 100% official, many elderly people are very skeptical about even putting their credit card online. So to sign up for Amazon Prime or to sign up for Peacock, I get where that could be a difficult hurdle. Mark, it's a great question because it really depends on the regional sports networks. That's what it comes down to. And how that's going to be handled. The regional sports networks, and James Dolan doesn't do much well, the owner of the Knicks, but he put out a pretty good article about how he doesn't agree with the new media rights deal, and he laid out the reasons why. But the Padres, for instance, their regional sports network went bankrupt in the middle of a season last year. So residents of San Diego, the only way they were getting their local Padres game, by the way, Padres pitcher today throws a no-hitter. How about that? You rarely see no-hitters today, but good for him against the Nationals. But getting back to the point, I think that NBA League Pass might, and I mean might, be the only way that you're going to be able to get your regional games. And I don't think that NBA League Pass is going to be one of those things that you have to buy the entire league. I think they're going to sparse it out. And so Amazon, Peacock, both digital platforms, right? There's a way they could work that in. And so I am sure that there are options within the new deal that give them the rights to possibly eat some of those regional networks up. You guys remember the COVID times? The Kings, one of the big reasons for the bubble, by the way, when they came back and started playing again, was because the regional networks are guaranteed a certain amount of games per year. If they don't get those games, I think the number was like 65. It's right around 65 or 70. If they don't get that amount of games, the contract's void. And think about how much money the Kings make off of that. Vice versa, the networks make off of that with their advertising. And so that is why the bubble came back for the rest of the regular season. And that's why they cut the season down to a really weird number. It was so it would meet the minimum requirements for all of the regional networks to get the amount of games. So League Pass will still be there. It will probably definitely be different. Yes, Peacock. Well, unfortunately, that guy that started this, that really started the live events on a streaming network, he's a sicko, but Vince McMahon, dude was ahead of his time. A lot of people thought it made no sense whatsoever to be putting $50 pay-per-views on a network that one was digital and two that you only paid $9.99 a month for. And look at how it's worked out. Everybody is following suit with them. NBA Pass is going to be offered by Amazon. Yeah, see, you guys are kind of on the same page with me. Adam, NBA League Pass sucks. Blacked out at Kings games in Dallas. So I have to watch Dallas feed on those nights. Yeah, they do have some really weird blackout rules. I totally get that. And sometimes, though, I'm not going to lie to you. When I have had League Pass in the past, I've enjoyed watching the other team's feed for getting a different perspective, not having to listen to some of the people that you might not like listening to here in Sacktown. And nothing against them. It's just styles and preferences. Hort, I think Charles will change his mind. I don't think he will. Thanks, buddy. I don't think Charles will change his mind. I think that he's pretty sincere when it comes to that. But who knows? We will see. Southwest is also out of Dallas. Yes, Horse, that is the dog. He is going nuts now. That's messed up of them. Hunted said maybe pulls a Jordan and changes his mind. Very well could. I doubt it. And I actually don't see any of those guys. In my opinion, I don't see any of them going and replicating that show on a different network. In fact, if you look at how shows in the past that have been legendary, when they've held on for too long and they try to evolve or keep it going on a different platform, it almost never works out. I mean, a great example to me, and this is just my opinion, inside the NFL, I thought that used to be one of they always used to call it the show the pros watch. I thought it was one of the best NFL studio shows that there's been because you get not only the players, like you legit hear for some of the greats on a week-to-week basis, but you got the audio from on the field for every single game and the highlights. And now that they're on show, or that used to be on Showtime, now it's on like CW Network. And it feels different. It feels diminished. And I feel like it would be exactly the same if you try to do Inside the NBA on Amazon, or you try to do it on ESPN or anywhere else. Let's see. That's true. My daughter watches everything on streaming. Yep. All about smart TVs, iPads, and apps. So did Amazon. Let's see. So did Arizona's Bally Network. Oh, they did. Okay, Mark. Interesting. So there you go. And that's the problem. A lot of these regional networks, they're in like the different parts of the country. So Bally's, I know that they were back east too, right? And so They've got all these different little spots where they're getting different teams, and it just doesn't work out. I mean, how many iterations have we seen of the NBC Sports California? Before that, it was like Comcast Sportsnet, and before that, something else. So, yeah, Adam hopping on the same thing. Interesting. You can buy a single team. There you go. Well, let's see, Dago hopping in. Well, I don't have to worry about anything or any of that since I watch all my games for free through some free apps. Oh, interesting, Dag. All right, Dago. You're gonna show off. You're flexing. What kind of free apps you using, my man? Adam, it's nice to watch the stadium view and see the halftime shows. So yeah, that's interesting. That's what a lot of the international viewers get, by the way. If you are somebody that is overseas and you've got NBA League Pass or you're watching an NFL game, you get that long stadium view during timeouts, during halftimes. Very good point. Flores, what's up? I know, man. I'm playing hurt. I am playing hurt. We're going to go a little bit shorter today because of that. Got a little coffee here and to work it out. But yes, it's just the sound of weakness leaving your body. That's all it is. No worries. Alberto, do I still have cable? Yes and no. It's complicated, basically. No, I do not pay for cable, but yes, I still have DirecTV digitally. So it's kind of weird like that. I'll be real with you, Mom, Dad, by the way, happy 48th wedding anniversary yesterday. But I have their login. So yeah, I guess I still do kind of have DirecTV. So thanks, Mom. Thanks, Dad. Love you guys. But isn't that kind of how it is, though? Like, at least for us, so my brother who lives in Idaho, we'll exchange our different logins because you can get so many different. I think you can have like 3 or 4 users depending on the app. So they'll buy half of them, we'll buy the other half, and we just mix and match and trade around. But even my parents with DirecTV, I'll say this because we go over there maybe once every couple weeks. DirecTV is not what they rely on the most. They are watching a lot of the smart TV apps. We have Apple TV, so we run off of the apps as well. Man, I still had a lot to get to today. I wanted to talk about some of the self-reporting, by the way, that's going on in the NFL with injuries. Self-reporting is actually up, which is a good thing in my opinion. Some people do not think that is the best thing because you're seeing players retire earlier. You're seeing guys pull themselves out of games rather than playing through things. One player said it best: I can have my knee replaced, I can't have my brain replaced. And one of the big things that's going to be different this year is the Guardian caps. We've talked about this a little bit over the last couple days, but the Guardian caps, the players can now use them in games. That, if you don't know what a Guardian cap is, that is what it looks like. So it looks a little weird, but get used to it because I think more guys than not are going to be wearing these. We'll carry that story over to tomorrow. Also have a couple other stories that we will definitely carry over to tomorrow. We are going to cut the show off because we're going to be back at 8 o'clock tonight. I'm going to save the rest of my voice for that one. I appreciate all you being here. There's so much more to get to. More Cam Johnson, more Orlando Robinson, definitely football. Trent Williams holding out for the Niners. We talked about Jera and the Cowboys at the start of the show. What's going to happen with Jordan Love? Is he really worth $50 million a year? WNBA rights, their new media rights deal. Now check this out. Their deal is reportedly for $11 million or for $2.2 billion for 11 years. Think about that compared to the NBA's deal. Is it a good deal or a bad deal for the WNBA? Remember, the WNBA has yet to have a profitable season. And this season, their viewership is almost tripled for regular season games, which is really interesting. Is it something the WNBA can continue sustaining? Is this a 1-year thing, or is this going to be one of those things where they are getting in on the ground level, and it's going to be a great deal for whoever is buying the WNBA media rights. Let's see, Mark, when I see that helmet, I hear Mario's brother's song. Well done, my man. There was an argument that they should go back to leather helmets so they try to kill each other. Yeah, I think the leather helmets are probably a little bit out these days. So, all right, y'all, we are going to wrap up simply because of the voice. But hey, thank you so much for being here. Tomorrow, Friday, it's your day. Take it over. We will have our Royal Rumble. Our record, by the way, is 9 people on screen at once. Can we break the record tomorrow? We will find out. Make sure that you're here. But more importantly, 8 o'clock tonight, Grant and I will be back. Please make sure you are subscribed to. If you don't like that, we would love to have you come check out Open Forum tonight. Still got a ton of things to go over. So hope you make it a great rest of the day. Thanks for checking in. Thanks for bearing with me through my raspy voice. And thanks for being really understanding about yesterday. We did not do a King's Court yesterday because my voice was worse than this. So definitely there was no way we were going to miss 2 days in a row, but we will be back tonight at 8 o'clock. And then certainly tomorrow, the King's Court back and better than ever at 2 p.m. Wrapping up the week. Adam will do likely his weekly wrestling hit. And by the way, holy crap, that AEW main event last night. Good job, Tony Khan. I guess you were kind of in charge of that. That was pretty good. I'm not going to lie. But everything else, man, their pay-per-view, their biggest one of the year, the one that's supposed to be their WrestleMania, really not that exciting. So anyways, random thought there. Hey, give me a holy moly.
Holy moly, Jimbaboli.
Go Kings, light the damn beam. Stay the hell away from Levine. Shout out to my boy BJ. Make it a great one. Come back at 8 o'clock tonight with Grant and I for Open Forum. Court is dismissed.